Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. We've got a new signing to talk about. Well, almost a new signing. On the way, Kota Takai. Fantastic name. 20-year-old Japan international centre-back. Spurs are signing for a J-League club record fee of around £5 million. Look, I know how people are going to react to this. There's going to be a lot of diverse and very different reactions is probably the best way to put it. I think people are going to overreact to this signing, thinking, here's the big signing to win the Premier League and stuff like that. It's not what this signing is. Put this signing more in the category of your Bergvalls, your Sarge, your Udogies, those kind of category. Although I would say probably, certainly has had more senior experience. Maybe, that's not fair on Sarge Udogie. Maybe more so than Bergvall, actually. Slightly alter that. But yeah, I think people need to understand that this is, a signing that is for the now, but for squad depth, but also for a potentially very, very bright and exciting future. And that's the way to look at this. He's going to be 21 in September. This is not a 17-year-old, 18-year-old. This is someone slightly kind of higher level than that as well, in terms of kind of experience too. And from what I understand, he is going to come in to be part of the first team squad for the coming season. He's coming from Kawasaki Frontale, if I didn't say that already. So he'll be leaving them midway through the J-League season to come to Spurs and be involved with pre-season with Thomas Frank and the staff. And like I say, he's got quite a lot of experience. I think he's played 78 senior matches for Kawasaki as well. 19 alone this season in the J-League. Another 9 in the AFC Champions League as well, scoring twice so far this season overall. And the game that I kind of remembered him being mentioned in was the semi-final of the AFC Champions League a couple of months back. He was up against Cristiano Ronaldo, Sadio Mane, John Duran's there as well, isn't he, as well? And I kind of, before I did this, I had a little kind of look at a package of everything he did, as we all do when there's ever any signing. And I remember at the time a little bit being made about the fact that this kind of young Japanese defender had impressed in this game, and kind of watching this back, which I didn't kind of watch at the time because it didn't really mean much back then. It means a lot more now, obviously. You could see he was very good against decent level opposition there as well. If you're not aware, they won 3-2, got to the final where they lost Kawasaki. And I would say the 3-2, don't take that out against those 2 goals against the defence, because there was pretty awful goalkeeping going on in there, especially the first one. But yeah, I watched it back. I watched this big kind of chunk of about 10 minutes worth, just purely focused on him and what he did. Takai, and tidy, good in the air. I've written down my notes here so I can remember. Strong in the challenge, read an interception pretty well, comfortable bringing the ball out one-on-one kind of long run. He did eventually lose it in the opposition area, but he had gone from his own half to do that. Doesn't seem to panic, and handled Ronaldo pretty well on the whole. And look, I know this is the only issue with signings like this, is that everyone's so desperate for this big signing and kind of to kick things off, and it's like no one was really expecting one of those kind of signings, as in a one for the future signings, but also now. This is the thing I kind of want to stress, that this is a player who can bolster this squad now. And we're going to talk about the size of the squad and how many centre-backs there are. This is going to be a hopefully quicker video, don't worry. It's a bit of a kind of a late reaction to had to do all the reporting on it and then kind of get a chance to sit down and do this. And despite his age, captained Kawasaki this season once in the 3-3 draw against Yokohama in April. He's Yokohama born himself. And he can play on right or the left. He is right-footed, but he can play on the right or the left of a centre-back pairing. From what I understand, Johan Lang and his staff kind of identified him as one that they felt that could step into the Premier League. And like I say, following the footsteps of Bergvall, Sarr, Udogie, players like that the club have signed over the years. Thomas Frank gave it the green light. There is, of course, an irony that, you had someone like Ange Postecoglou, who obviously knew that league very well, and once he's gone, a player comes in from that league. But, that's the way it works. And look, I know that there's going to be people that will see this as only see maybe a marketing side of it, and see that it's bringing another Asian player across and things like that, and it's such a reductive way to look at it. And I know, of course, that if he becomes a star like Sonny one day, then yes, he would be able to bring in great money in that respect. But it's more about, that's a long way to go. The likes of like Yang coming in, and Yang's gone off obviously to QPR and started to get a real understanding of the English game there. But Yang is not a huge kind of money-grabbing star. This is very much potentially in the future. And look, if they get to the stage where they've reached those heights, players like that, then they've already done what you asked them for, regardless of any kind of cynical view people might have on merchandise marketing and trying to look at different markets and stuff like that. And I do think it's very reductive in a player like this. It's he's just a very good young player. So like I said, he's also, I forgot to say this, he's already made 4 international senior appearances as well in Japan's World Cup qualifying matches. Again, this is not just a young player with no experience. He has played at a good level as well. And obviously the Premier League is a whole other level. But like I say, it's £5 million for someone that's an international already at 20 years old. So it is absolutely... it's not just, how do we put it, taking a punt on a kid, I suppose is the best way to put it, isn't it? It's not like that. From what I understand, like I said, he will remain with the squad. The expectation at this moment is not to loan him out. Obviously, Thomas Frank and his staff have got to have a good look at him close up and personal in training and everything and see where he's at. But like I said, 78 senior appearances. He's played at the Olympics as well for Japan. Like I said, 4 World Cup qualifying caps as well for the senior squad. He's technically, like I said, probably further advanced of where Bergvall was when he came in as well. And obviously Bergvall, much younger player when he was coming in as well. And he played a major role, Takai, in Kawasaki winning the Japanese Super Cup in 2024. He was named J-League's Young Player of the Year as well. Actually, I just realised his shirt number is number 2 that he wears. It's available, isn't it, Spurs? I'm not forgetting anyone, am I? I'm pretty sure that's available as well. So, yeah, I think it's a really interesting signing. It's, again, people are kind of who've been waiting for an Eze, waiting for a Mark Gay, waiting for a Mbeumo, ones like that are going to be like, oh, that's, especially after Levy's interview where he said, I want to win the league and the Champions League and stuff like that, are going to be like, oh, right. But the thing is if you have a window where you sign 1 or 2, 3, hopefully, big, experienced senior players as well, but then you've also brought in the likes of Takai as well, it all makes sense. Kota Takai will hopefully be a name that we're all very aware of in the future as well. We have to address the squad itself as well, in the fact that there's a lot of centre-backs. A lot. Sorry, I'm hiccuping. I'm getting so excited. Luka Vuskovic is coming in this summer. I'm very interested to see what that means for him now, because obviously he's had a lot of experience in the last couple of years in terms of senior football as well. And I think he made his Croatia debut as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to double check that. That's one I'm pretty sure I saw happened. But I'm going to double check it, and you'll all be telling me in the comments, no, we're telling you the truth. He has. I've got to double check these things. You know what I'm like? I don't like to say stuff if it is just complete rubbish. I want to always double check things. So he comes in with senior experience and 2 seasons worth of a lot of football too. So that's going to be a proper battle between the young players there as well, and which one maybe in January ends up getting loaned out potentially at that stage. And yeah, there's a homegrown angle as well. I'm not going to bore you with all of that again, but we have spoken about it before. It's going to be very difficult to register both, if not one of them, in the Champions League squad for this coming season. We'll dive into all that properly as we start to get a better handle on who's staying and who's going and everything. Right now, I've said it before, it's 30 people to get into 22 positions. Add in Takai as well, and that's 31. So there's a lot of people to squeeze into positions, but we need to see who's going to go out the door first before we can really dig into the nitty-gritty of all of that as well. But, I mean, you just look at centre-backs. Right now, Spurs have Romero, Van der Ven, Danso, Dragishin obviously injured, Ben Davies, Ashley Phillips, Alfie Dorrington. What's going to happen to them? It's not a good sign for them, is it? Alfie Dorrington's got a long contract, you would imagine, would head out. He's only just had his first loan at Aberdeen, won the cup with them, probably heads out again. Ashley Phillips, do you want a third loan at the club? And it looked like he was never probably going to break in under Postecoglou. Now he must feel, well, I'm not going to do it under Thomas Frank either. Thomas Frank, no doubt, will want to have a look at him in pre-season, but I wonder if it gets to the stage now where the players will be like, do I have to get loaned out again? Or do the club take money for him if they can get good money for him? I don't know is the answer. For me, if he's got a long enough contract, to try and remember what his is now. I feel like it's a little bit of a longer one. You probably can get away with another loan, which probably doesn't depreciate his value either, and maybe he has another shot when he comes back. But again, it could be down to the player. The player could really not want to do that once again, and maybe they look for a permanent solution. But yeah, Takai coming in, it's not a good sign for him. But yeah, that's a lot of players. I mean, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 centre-backs they'll have at the club. 4, obviously, of those young ones. Ben Davies, we don't know what the future holds for him. I know his option was taken up to extend his contract, but could he still head off? Leeds apparently got an interest in him. Wrexham, apparently, another one that were interested in him as well. I think there was another couple as well. I can't remember who they were now. Were kind of interested in him. And maybe, this kind of scenario allows him to head off because he's considered homegrown in Europe, but he's not club trained. So he doesn't really affect that club trained part of things. They're still overstuffed in terms of you're supposed to have 4 association trained players. So they have way more than that. I think it's like 7 or 8 or something like that. So yeah, that is it. That is... this is not going to be an update, don't worry. I'm going to do a little bit more. You might only want an 11-minute update. But that's purely on Takai. Kota Takai coming in. It's a great name. That really lends itself to hopefully some fantastic chants. And I'm sure there'll be some people working on. I've seen some people already retrofitting Dele Alli's 5 mil one. That's often what happens, I guess, is they do kind of just retrofit the chants for the next generation, I guess. Feels weird talking about generation when Dele was here not that long ago, but you know what I mean. But yeah, honestly, do a little bit of kind of looking into him. The stats are really good as well. Yes, it's another level up. It is absolutely, and I agree with that. And it's going to take him time to settle. New country, new culture, new league, very fast and physical. Absolutely, 100%. There's no saying that this young man is going to come in and absolutely light the world up completely. He's going to have to settle in, and it's going to be a real bedding in process for him. However, he is someone with far more experience and decent level of playing than people are probably aware of. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see kind of come this point next summer how he's done. Whether it was something that he needed more time and he's going to head out on loan, or whether he got his chance and absolutely grabbed it. I think he can play right back as well. I think at a push. But mainly he's going to be a right-footed centre-back that can play on the left as well if required. So, really interesting to see how he settles in. And, yeah, it's going to be weird for his team, Kawasaki, to lose him mid-season during their campaign. But yeah, look, I know what the reactions are. I've already seen them on social media. I think it kind of is half and half. I think I can see people disappointed that that's the first. It's not really the first signing because Mathis Tel has already been made permanent, of course. You could argue technically Kevin Danso was also made permanent, but that was an obligation anyway, so it was always going to happen. But yeah, certainly one for the £5 million as well. Like I said, if Romero were to go, let's say, the replacement at this point is not going to be Takai. Of course it's not. They're going to have to go for a big, experienced central defender. Surely they are. Unless, there's the most incredible... no, just not. Even in that time, there's not. I was about to say, if Takai comes into training and just looks absolutely sensational, Vuskovic does, of course there will be a fear of blocking the path, but they don't seem that worried about it because they're already blocking the path of Phillips and Dorrington and players like that. But yeah, I would be stunned if Romero were to go, which I still have my doubts about because someone would have to pay a big fee, and I'm not sure the clubs interested would do that. I think they're more likely to kind of wait a year and maybe see if that drops. But yeah, if he were to leave, I think they would sign a big kind of experienced signing to replace him. I think for the aesthetics of it as well as the fact of they've got to play Champions League football this season. They're going to need ready-made experienced players. And again, you can appreciate that this signing is an interesting one for a young player. The amount of times that we'd all, myself included, moan about, how did Brighton sign that player that we, didn't know much of before, a young player? How did Brighton get Matoma, let's say? How did, Bournemouth go out and sign this young player? And now they're incredible Premier League players and stuff like this. And then when one of these signings potentially happens for us, we're kind of a little bit like, well, that's not exciting. And it's kind of like, you can't have it both ways. But it's me as well. It's what the football brain does to you. Absolutely. I'm sure with Lucas Bergvall as well, there was a bit like, I think maybe with Lucas Bergvall, we knew that they beat Barcelona to him, and maybe there was that little element to it as well. But yeah, just, Pat Mathis has come in and been a terrific young player. He's going to be so much better as well. When a doggy the same is only going to get better and better. So Spurs actually are starting to sort that side of things out. Yes, they went overboard last summer and signed too many young players and not enough experienced players. But there's no denying that actually the quality of the young players they're bringing in is increasing by every single kind of... And, Johan Langer, he's not the Paratici kind of social media's darling, as it were. He hasn't got his earphones in all the time, making phone calls and stuff like that. But he kind of quietly and effectively just gets on with his job and signs these young, exciting players. And, you can... My original point was you can appreciate these young, exciting players for the now and the future while also wanting experienced players. They need to sign far more than the one they did last summer in Solanke. They need to bring in more experienced players this summer because they're going to play in the Champions League. You cannot rely purely on a young team to do that. They need some real top-level talent to go in and do that. You can have both views. It's not an either-or, but I know social media demands that you have an either-or view, and you shouldn't have to. You should. Spurs go and spend $5 million on a exciting young player like Takai, and equally go out and should be able to spend 65-70 million in today's market on an Mbeumo and Eze, Mark Gay as well. That should be able to have Gay obviously after if someone like Romero were to leave. I think you're at the stage now where probably it would be unlikely if you're going to sign him as well. Never know. But it would seem an area that is, like I said, there's 9 players in it for 2 spots. I know he likes to play with a back 3, so potentially more so there. So that's it. That's on Takai. What else we got here? Sorry, I'm going to be checking things throughout this just in case anything else happens. No, that's someone joking about Solanke. So Solanke got married. Carl Walker-Peters, who I think, did I mention last video? Have I not done? I might not have done mention that. I think the report I did was after that. Solanke's best man was Carl Walker-Peters, who I did a report on this week because Spurs, from my understanding, have considered him as a potential returnee, as a free agent. And again, that's another one that was met with, oh, come on, kind of thing. But actually, when you drill down to it, it's the homegrown angle. It's the club-trained angle. Exactly what I was speaking about. In that European squad, Carl Walker-Peters can slot in there and it doesn't affect anyone else because he would become Spurs' only outfield senior club-trained player. He can go in there and it doesn't affect anyone else in that squad. He's an additional bonus player. In terms of depth on the fullback slots, I don't think it's the craziest idea. Dennis Sirkin as well is another one they could go back for, who's just gone up into the Premier League with Sunderland. Hey, could bring Harry Kane back. It would do a similar thing, but probably odds on that are less. But again, look, and I know as soon as I'm saying these names, I can just hear in the back of my mind people go, oh, there you go. Yeah, you're going to win the Champions League and Premier League with players like that. But it's also thinking of the squad as well as signing the big players. Please don't mistake me saying that I think that makes sense in that regard for saying that should be all they do. That should be a side part of what they do, as well as the main business of signing a string of experienced, big, high-profile players, or not even just having to be high-profile, but high-quality players that can compete right now in a competition like the Champions League. So I know how people get. Like I say, it's from one extreme to the other. What else we got this week? I understand Scott Munn, Chief Football Officer at Tottenham, has been placed on gardening leave. I know there was a lot of reports saying that he'd already been sacked. that hadn't been the case from what I was aware. He's been placed on gardening leave. It's been at Spurs less than 2 years already. Moved from the City football group, didn't he? Do you remember it was all quite delayed? I kind of feel like as a main ally of Ange Postecoglou, it probably wasn't going to be long for him at the club once Postecoglou went out the door. And of course, coinciding with the arrival of Vinay Venkatesham, the new chief executive officer, didn't seem to be a place within the setup for him as much, Scott Munn. So, no official announcement, I don't think, as far as I'm aware on that in any way. But from what I understand, that he is... just as we're doing this, looks like reports that United have submitted improved bid for Brian Mbeumo. You would imagine if that's being done, that would suggest that the player has indicated he wants to go there. That's not to say it's definitely the case, but don't know. We shall see. Back to what we were talking about. What else we got? So season of change at Spurs. Obviously with Thomas Frank coming in, Vinay Venkatesham coming in, Scott Munn placed on gardening leave, Donna Maria Cullen, the executive director and long-time Daniel Levy advisor, has left the board and is leaving the club this summer. Fabio Paratici, still lots of people within the club expecting him to return at some point this year. He's currently on a consultancy role, which runs until the end of August. So there's probably no rush to try to take him off that while he's doing what he's doing anyway. As I said before, his ban ends soon. I think it's next month, middle of next month, 20th maybe. I can't remember the exact date. Next month, his ban from certain football duties. And he has that civil trial going on as well, with the investigations looking into Juventus and things that happened there. So that's still going on, rumbling on in the background as well. But yes, no Scott Munn involved in anything anymore. Thomas Frank will deal with Vinay Venkatesham, Johan Langer and Daniel Levy, the chairman. And presumably, as Postecoglou did, we'll probably get to know Fabio Paratici over the coming weeks and months as well. What else we got here? Sorry, I thought something else was breaking. I don't think it is. No, it's not. Mathis Tel, we spoke about him earlier and becoming a permanent transfer. He did very well yesterday. He played in the quarterfinals of the European Under-21 Championships. I watched a big old bulk of that game. He was excellent. And he was in a difficult kind of role as well. France weren't particularly great for long periods of the game, so he was playing a bit of a thankless lone striker task. But he popped up in the 85th minute with an absolute belter of a goal. It was very Sonny-esque, actually. Kind of got the ball on the left-hand side from Mathis Ablin. Cut inside. The man just backed off a little bit and he just unleashed a lovely curling low shot into the bottom right corner. And that was it. That turned the game around. They were 2-1 behind, got to 2-2, and his goal swept them into the semi-finals where they will play Germany. I think it's Wednesday night. So it was just a really good performance for him. Wilson Odobert played not so good. Mathis Tel, though, I kind of liked a lot of what I saw, actually. He just gave them lots of problems, the Danish defence, really, even though the service into him wasn't great. I'd imagine being thrown in at Spurs when Solanke and Richarlison were injured as this kind of battering ram target man has probably served him very well in just learning how to have to keep the ball up under extreme circumstances. And he did really well with it. Lots of little neat back flicks into his teammates' pass, spread the ball out wide a fair bit. I had this brilliant shot in the first half. There was a headed kind of a challenge for a header. The ball went up in the air, and as it's dropping, Tel caught it beautifully on the volley with a kind of it's like a dipping volley, and the keeper pulled off an absolutely incredible save. Funny enough, the goalkeeper was Andreas Ljungdahl, who has been on loan from Cremonese at Westerlo this season in Belgium, playing with Vuskovic and Alfie Devine. It's funny the way kind of football works, isn't it? Tel in the second half of the goal ruled off for offside, a nice header into the net because I forgot his name, but the chap who crossed it for him was offside in the build-up. It's it was just quite a dangerous performance. Never gave up and got his winner in the end. So he's having a really good tournament. Kind of bodes well for him. I said previously, I think, that Thomas Frank had greenlit the deal for Mathis Tel because he was excited about working with him and developing him. And lo and behold, he actually came out with some quotes, I think, just after the last video, which weren't in the original interview he did. And he said, as in they weren't shown with it, but they were clearly from the same interview. He said, very, very excited about Mathis signing with a permanent deal. I think he's a very talented player that can play across the front four positions. He's a goal scorer that we can develop even further to be more consistent in his all-round game, but also to more consistently land in the right positions in the box. So I'm looking forward to it. It's always nice when you write a story and it gets confirmed. Sometimes people can be awkward and say completely different things. It's hey, that's the roll of the dice with football journalism. You can get something backed up from a million different places, and on the day, someone can choose to say that something that completely contradicts it, even though you know it's true. But he didn't, thankfully. What else we had? Leaked images of the new Nike Spurs away kit for next season, which is like a black affair with checks. How do I call it? Not checks. What's the best way to describe it? It's like a crisscross pattern of squares is the best way to put it. And on each line, vertical line of each square, it says the word Spurs. It's actually quite nice. I would say I way prefer it to the home kit. I'm not a massive fan of the home kit. The away one's nice. The potential third one it looks pretty decent as well, which is yellow and navy, I think. And yeah, it's apparently from the future, this kit. The tagline for it, the official Nike description apparently says, Tottenham Hotspur's 25-26 away shirt welcomes you to match day in the year 2082. You just said it was 2025-26. This London-inspired battle armour uses tonal blacks and cutting-edge trims to create an innovative, stealthy look that the enemy won't see coming. I love a bit of marketing jargon, don't you? It's been a while since we have a black away kit. I think 2014-15 we had the Under Armour one, which had the yellow kind of stripes down it and down the trim. That was quite a decent one. There was the black and grey third shirt, wasn't there, in 2012-2013, which I always kind of associate with Gareth Bale, the Villas-Boas season as well. Yeah, I don't know exactly when it's going to be released. I wouldn't imagine it's that long, though. Normally they try and have them out in time for the tour so they can kind of flog a load around the world. I think it was around this time last year that the away one came out, so maybe it won't be that long. We've got a while left with Nike, if anyone's kind of moaning about it. Like I said, the 2 out of 3, I don't mind this time. The deal they signed with Nike's till 2033, so it's quite a long one. Still a little way to go on that. What else have we got to tidy up? Other than really just coming back for pre-season training and when it will be. From what I understand, it will be around a fortnight's time. Just under I think the bulk of the players, it's going to be... what's the best way to describe this? Technically, it's the first... I need to look at it on my calendar now. I've written it here somewhere. I've got to get the exact way of putting it. It's the first week of July, I think it is. I've written it down here. I've absolutely lost my place in my notes, which is incredible. I don't normally do that. I'm normally quite good at keeping my thread of where I'm at. Fortnight's time. I've written it down here somewhere in my notes. First week of July. Back end of the first week of July. I think the Saturday. I cannot remember. I didn't write it down. There's me thinking, don't worry, I'll have saved myself. Didn't. Back end of the first week of July. I think the bulk of players come back on the Saturday. I think in the first week of July. By all means, you'll know the date. You don't even have to put it in the comments. I just had a bit of a brain freeze. So he's already met Thomas Frank, James Maddison, and Radu Dragusin. We know that. We've seen them doing their rehab work and him kind of bumping into them. I think he was only in for a couple of days last week, but during that time, obviously, had to get a hell of a lot done. First group of players, non-internationals, will come back. Some might decide to come a little bit earlier. They've got to do their blood work, various tests, and they'll be beginning training with Frank and his new look staff. We'll know a little bit more about that, hopefully, in the coming days. Then some of those who went on international duty right at the end of the season will get a couple of days extra if they choose to accept them, and they'll return in the kind of days after that in a staggered fashion. They won't be staggering, it'll be staggered, the return. Then you've got the ones like Mathis Tel that I was just speaking about, who are at the under 21 Euros, under 19 Euros. So that's Archie Gray, Mathis Tel, Wilson Odebear, Mikey Moore. Then you've got development squad player Reece Alexander, Russell Denny. Brilliantly double hyphenated name. Love that. Those 4 players will be given further time off. Whether they take it or not is another thing, but you would imagine most of them will want to come back and impress a new manager. The old new manager effect. Current first pre-season friendly we know of is Luton on the 26th. I'm pretty sure there'll be one a week before, probably around the 19th. That weekend at least, because I think they need one more, and I'm sure there'll be at least one training ground friendly that we're not party to, a behind closed doors one as they're called. And then of course we have the tour to Asia, which I'm really looking forward to. Hong Kong to face Arsenal July the 31st, South Korea to take on Newcastle on August the 3rd. Really looking forward to going back there as well. Had some brilliant trips to South Korea. It's a lovely place, lovely people. And Hong Kong will be my first time there, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Then we've got Spurs in Germany against Bayern Munich, which I shall be heading along to as well. To see the Harry Kane derby, as it were. I think it's the second part of the deal from signing him. And then obviously that all leads into the UEFA Super Cup against PSG, August the 13th in Udine. Obviously, you said before, Lucas Enrique's side will be fresh back from their post-Club World Cup rest. So what state they're in, we'll see. Spurs will hope that they're still on the beach. That would be lovely. Doesn't look like there's going to be time for the usual big home friendly before the season starts because of that Super Cup clash. And lots of people keep asking about the CONMEBOL thing where the Europa League plays it's gone out of my head, the second tier competition in South America, which I think is Racing. Is it Racing? We're in that. Everything I've been told by UEFA suggests that there's just no time to fit that into it, and it's a very irregular thing that barely happens much either, and it seems to be classed as a friendly as well rather than something like UEFA Super Cup, which seems to be a bit more competitive. But yeah, I don't think there's time to fit in a home game. Obviously, you've got the 16th. Saturday 16th is Burnley in the Premier League on the opening day of the season, so there's no real time to squeeze that in, I don't think. Just see if there's anything interesting there. No. Just PSG winning their group, I think, at the Club World Cup. And they've confirmed season 2 of Mobland. Excellent. I really enjoyed that. Non-football news. Yeah. I do think the gap between the Super Cup game and the Burnley match is ridiculously small. I cannot believe Spurs weren't on the Sunday. I don't understand the logic behind that, but hey, I don't pick the fixtures all the time. Just you feel like on either the PSG game or the Burnley game, they're going to have to rotate already in the first week of the season. But there you go. It's football. Let's run these players into the ground, eh? That seems to be the game nowadays. Right, I think that's everything. I'm sure there will very much be more to come on Takai's arrival, young Kota Takai. And yeah, I'll try and do another video next couple of days if we learn more about him, and hopefully he arrives and we get some bits and pieces that he says, and also we need to know about the staff and more transfers on top of that. But yeah, like I said, please do try to just see this as what it is, not the superstar signing or anything like that, not anything else other than signing another young player in the Bergvall Sarah doggy mould. I don't use Archie because Archie was £40 million. He was on another level when we're talking about young players and stuff. Whereas, this feels like very much like a great opportunity, young lad, get him in, turn him into a star, but should not be at the expense of signing a big, experienced player that can hit the ground running in the Champions League. Takai may do that as the season goes on, if he gets in that squad, which I think is going to be a struggle. But let's see. Right, time to head off. This was only meant to be a short one. It wasn't even meant to be 34 minutes, but here we are. Time to head off. Hopefully more interesting things in the days ahead. I shall talk to you again. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves. I shall catch you later. Goodbye.